Well, folks, it is now official. Tyler Buchner is QB1 for the Tide as they head down to Tampa to take on the Bulls of South Florida. Jalen Milroe is now QB2, 3. We don't know that, but we do know, as we talked about on Miller's Edge Extra on yesterday, that we thought that Tyler Buchner would be the starter. Well, it is now official. He'll get the start against South Florida, and we'll see what he is able to do. The question that we're asking, is benching Milroe the right decision in this moment in time? Is now the cake baked, ready to go in the oven, as Nick Saban, in his words, said? The cake is in the oven. Is it baked? Is it ready to eat? Want your thoughts? We're going to talk about it. Corey Miller, Christian Miller, Pastor Payne hanging out here with you on a Friday afternoon, but not shocked because we said it yesterday. We saw it coming, and it's now official, Christian. But I don't know. I'll let you start first on your thoughts on Buckner playing, starting. Is it over for Milroe? Will he get to play in the game? So there's still more questions to this whole quarterback controversy.
There is. And like you mentioned, and we talked about this last night on the Miller's Edge Extra, and not much longer later, here it is. It's pretty much official. Now, I don't think Coach Saban or anybody from Alabama has officially stated this, but there's reports coming from everywhere, and I'm 99% sure we're going to see Tyler Buchner take that first snap against USF. But let's dive into it, right? Because me and you, we agree on some things in this situation, but we also differ.
Yeah.
Here's my side of things. If you're going to make this decision, the time is now, right? Now is the time to see what these other guys can offer. You've seen what Jalen Milroe can do in 2 games. The first game, he looked great. He moved the ball well. He looked very efficient. He made some great plays, and everything seemed to be trending upward. Come in the following week against a very good Texas football team, we saw him have some struggles. There's a couple plays he probably wanted back. Definitely those 2 turnovers. He also had 2 touchdowns called back from flags, right? From penalties. You got to include that. You got to include the fact that the offensive line did not play great at all. He had pressure on probably over half of his snaps. He was working with what he had, and he still pretty much gave them a chance to win the football game. So from that perspective, I do feel like it is a little bit early. But here's the thing. I don't think this is a situation where it's strictly because of, okay, look, he struggled. We can't win with this guy. I think it's more so they see some vulnerabilities in him, and they're saying, look, this is our last opportunity to really see what we have out of these other guys. They've already lost 1 game. The goals are all still attainable. Everything's still achievable, but you can't afford to drop another one. And so you have one last contest, an out-of-conference contest, where you're playing a lesser opponent, right? This should be a Middle Tennessee type game. They should go up on these guys. They should play a handful of people. I don't even think we're done with just a quarterback position. I think there's going to be several position battles that are going to be ongoing in this football game. But sticking with the quarterback battle, now is the time for them to see what they have. Because if not, if you wait to do it, it gets too risky. And then you're just going to be looking back like, man, should we have gave that guy a shot? What if, right? We know the athlete that Jalen Milroe is. We know how dynamic he is. We know what he can offer. So let's just see what we have in these other guys, because we know the area that Jalen Milroe somewhat struggles in. I'm not going to be like these people that just says a generic, oh, he can't read a defense. I don't think it's that. It's just how well can he operate this offense, right? I feel like they feel that they are limited with what they can do with him as a quarterback. Now, obviously, he expands your playbook in one way in terms of his athleticism, but in another way in terms of his ability and effectiveness, getting in and out of plays and going through reads and progressions. I feel like they feel a little bit hindered. And so that's why I think they're kind of testing the water. They're evaluating these other guys. I think that's what led to us being here. That and the biggest fact of him turning over the football. And in those 2 turnovers, there's no way around it. Those were tough turnovers, right? He made 2 bad errors right there. There are critical errors that cost them. Now, granted, I know that there was a lot of other factors in this game. I know he did a lot of things well. But in their minds, I think they're looking at that and they're saying, hey, maybe we sacrifice the athleticism, right? We sacrifice that nice deep ball that he can throw, give one of these other guys a chance, and maybe they can just be that game manager that protects the football, that's efficient, that's able to operate the offense and give us a little more flexibility without, turning the ball over and putting us in some vulnerable positions. So I think Now's the time to do that. Now, do I think this is an end-all, be-all for Jalen Milroe? Absolutely not. I look back at 2015, Jake Coker started the year, right? He was then replaced by Cooper Bateman. They wanted to evaluate him and see what he could offer because they felt that they weren't necessarily getting that spark out of Jake Coker that they needed. Well, Cooper Bateman ended up starting week 3 against Ole Miss. He goes down. Jake Coker replaces him, comes back in the game, and ends up basically re-earning his spot. And we know how that season went. You know, we finally found that identity, and we ended up winning a national championship that year. So when they put Jake Coker to the side, it wasn't the last of him. In fact, he ended up returning. And I think you could very well see that with Jalen Milroe. If you do that, yeah, right now he's going to feel disrespected. But what is he going to turn you down if you offer him the job again next week or the week after? No, he's not going to do that. But I think if you do end up finally going with him, you have to tailor your offense to him. You don't have to change your offense, but you have to put him in position to make plays and to succeed, right? And I think right now they just want to figure out what is the identity that they want to go with that gives the team the best opportunity to win football games. I think that's why they're making this critical decision right now, because you have to do it. Time is of the essence. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I don't think I think really this is almost just an evaluation game, right? I don't think it's necessarily, okay, we're benching Milroe. Tyler Buchner is our guy. I think it's more so, okay, we've seen what we've gotten out of Milroe. Worst case, Tyler Buchner isn't the answer, and then we go back to Milroe. I think that's very much a possibility. And so I think people still need to kind of pump the brakes. I know a lot of people want these things figured out, but in Coach Saban's words, I guess the cake technically is still baking. He said that coming into this season, right? He said when they name a starter, it's just for that first week, right? Everything's going to be fluid. And so I think that's what we're seeing. But I know you disagree on some of those things, but in my opinion, I think this is. I know you're ready. I know, and I'm gonna give you all the time because I know you have a lot of thoughts on this. But in my opinion, the time is now. If you are going to make this change, I hate it for Milroe. I want to see him succeed. I know he's a great guy, great character kid. He's a hell of a playmaker. He needs to have some type of role, and maybe we'll see that. Maybe they walk away from this game with the dual quarterback system. You never know. I just believe it's smart on their part to go ahead and test the waters now, because you can't afford to really do this after this. You got Ole Miss coming in next week. We saw what Sark was able to accomplish, knowing, you know, how Coach Saban likes to scheme things. His scheme coming in offensively was great. You know, it was remarkable the way he drew things up to really attack our secondary and how we like to cover. And so you're going to get something very similar with Lane Kiffin coming into town. And so that's going to be another great challenge. The last thing you want to do is go into that game with even more question marks, which I know you're probably about to say, well, you're going to have even more about changing quarterbacks right now. But again, would you rather do it this week against USF to try to get a few more answers versus waiting? You come back, you're playing Ole Miss, you start struggling, then you're trying to shuffle things around mid-game and hope to get that spark or hope to get a little bit more security. So that's the way I look at it. I don't think it's the end-all, be-all for Jalen Milroe. Is it the right decision? Maybe they should start Milroe and then bring Tyler Buchner in for significant snaps. Maybe that's the better way to do it, the better approach. But I always will trust Coach Saban's decision-making because he's had to make these tough decisions once before. And typically it works out well for not only him, but the team and the fan base as a whole. So you got to just trust Coach Saban in this process.
Well said. Well said. I hear it. I can agree with some of it. But let me just say, you know, I just rep the shade because of Dion, right? The coach had a problem with Dion wearing the shade, so I'm repping mine today in honor of the Colorado Buffaloes. But let's get to the matter at hand. This is not the right decision. Let me preface this by saying I am a lover of Coach Saban. He's the GOAT. I respect him 100%. I respect him even in this decision, but I think it's the wrong decision. I think he's handling it the wrong way, right? Because Tyler Buchner, you've heard me say on the Miller's Edge, you've heard me say on my little videos, I saw and watched him play a lot of games. I went back again and watched the Gator Bowl from last year against South Carolina. This is not an upgrade. It's not an upgrade. And you going into a game, Milroe, you already said, I'm not going to go rehash everything. He had the 2 picks. It turned into 10 points, right? But there were so many other factors in that game that caused them offensively to not be good. Number one is the offensive line. I don't care who you got at quarterback. All these fans that call our shows and all sports talk shows and on Twitter, and they want to reiterate and rehash and regurgitate everything people are saying about, oh, you can't read a defense. Well, you're right. You can't read a defense. It's a snaps on the ground. You got to go down and pick up the ball. You can't read a defense if you got pressure in your face, especially if the pressure's coming up the middle, taking away that passing window, right? He made mistakes, but he also, despite making those mistakes, folks, gave Alabama the lead going into the fourth quarter. They were ahead in this ballgame. Even in 3 plays later, Texas scores. Defense, none. He gets them back to 27-24. Touchdown pass and a 2-point conversion based on an off-schedule play. Here's my issue with it and how they're doing this thing. You are going to ruin the confidence of a very young quarterback. I know he's been there 3 years, but he does not have a ton of game experience. This is his third, fourth game. Arkansas, Middle Tennessee State, and in Texas last week. 3 starts. And then, of course, he came in to replace Bryce Young.
A&M.
And A&M, excuse me.
Yeah.
And so
4.
But still, 4 starts is not enough for a young quarterback. You should allow him to go back and regain his confidence against South Florida. And if you still are looking, or the cake is still in the oven, then you say, hey, Milroe McGee the first quarter, the first half, then we're going to go with Tyler Buchner and give him the first offensive line, the first receivers, and let's see what he can do. Right? Because you're not going to learn, I don't believe, a whole lot in this game. They should dominate this game. They should be able to run the football and keep South Florida, who's got a potent, high-tempo offense, off the field. So whether Buckner does great this game, does that make him the starter for Ole Miss? You just alluded to this about Lane Kiffin coming in and with his offense, Pete Golden, defensive coordinator of Ole Miss, knowing Alabama. No, you should start Jalen, play Tyler Buchner, and then figure out what's going to be the best going into the Ole Miss game next week. So my problem is you are risking ruining his confidence. You are risking getting him upset. Now his mind thinking about transfer portal and how they treat me, this, that, and the third, because he didn't play awful in the game last week. They had a chance to win that game. But because of the other factors surrounding him defensively, in the trenches, secondary, offensive line, it didn't get done. He had 2 touchdowns called back. That's 4 touchdown passes that he threw in the game. 4. And most people will take 4 touchdowns to 2 interceptions all day long. Right? So I don't get it. I'm not at practice. I don't know what they're looking for. But this is the wrong decision. And I don't believe, I pulled up Mr. Buckner's stats at Notre Dame. 2021, 21-35, 60%, 298 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Last year, 46 of 83, 55%, 662 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. He threw 3 of those in the Gator Bowl. I know you talk about the tip pass and all that, but still some bad decisions. And my other point is this. Coaching, great coaches understand who their guy is. All right? So they recognize the talent, and they say, okay, I know this guy's not a drop back passer. So I got to call plays that's good for him, and then also will allow him to get the ball to the playmakers. Well, I went back and watched the tape, and I look at the game plan, Christian Miller, that he called for Ty Buckner. And it was this exact thing I've been saying. A lot of design quarterback runs, a lot of RPOs, a lot of quick pass out to receivers, his playmakers running the football. He called those plays for him against South Carolina. Why last week we didn't see that type of offense being called? This is my problem. So we know, Tommy Rees knows Buckner very well. He knows who he is, what he can do, this, that, and the third. My thing is, why not give Jalen Milroe that same opportunity? And for me, it's wrong. That's why if you're going to make that decision, at least give the young man the opportunity to ball out. He's going to give you more of the X factor, like we've seen all scheduled plays. The touchdown in the first game, again, snap on the ground, he picked it up, ran in for a touchdown. Last week, snap on the ground, he gets outside the pocket, all scheduled play, throws a touchdown to night block, right? That's who he is. This is what this young man can give you. He is not your prototypical drop back passer. They knew that when they recruited him. That's who he is. That's who he is. So why not design plays that allow him to be him? And so I do not, in all caps, like how they've handled this situation. Love Coach Saban. Will always love Coach Saban. I hope this works out, as you said. I hope it turns into a national championship, an SEC championship. But I emphatically don't like how they've handled this situation. So, you're going into game 3, game 4 next week, and we still don't know about the cake. Come on, man. The cake sometimes get overcooked, becomes dry. And this situation is getting overcooked and it's getting dry. Figure out who your guy is, know who you got, see who you got around him, and then design an offensive call sheet that benefits everybody, especially your quarterback. Okay? And it starts up front. If they don't protect him, I don't care. Put Joe Theismann, Joe Namath, Troy Aikman. It don't matter. Tom Brady. If you don't have time to read, you don't have time to go through those things, it don't matter anyway. So that's my problem. Again, I hope it works out, but I do not like what they have done and how they've handled it. I don't mind Buckner playing. I think he should. But I think you start Milroe and you say, hey, give him the script. First half is yours, brother. Let's see it. We got to see better. We got to see more. Let's call plays for him. And then we're going with the other guy and see what he can do. And then next week, let's make a decision and roll with it. Because at some point, the other players need to know who their guy going to be. So we can build continuity. We can build some consistency. And finally, can we build a group of guys that can play winning football in Nick Saban words? So that's where I'm at with this whole thing. I don't think they've handled it the right way. I think they run a risk of making Milroe extremely mad. Now he wanting to pull himself away. Now he's thinking about the transfer portal when they could have had an opportunity to keep everybody happy and then make a final decision on who QB1 is and roll with it. So that's my thoughts on it. We're not shocked by the move. We saw this coming, but I don't have to like it. I hope it works, but I don't like how they've done this whole situation with the cake in the oven. I don't like it.
And I think that's fair. I mean, I think we both can agree. You would agree with me that you feel that Tyler Buchner should play significant snaps.
Absolutely.
I think you're more so, okay, good. So we agree on that. You feel like they're going about it. He shouldn't start the game.
The problem is you're basically saying, well, we're not getting great quarterback play, and that's probably a reason why we lost. And I'm not saying that's the right thing, but I can tell you how Jalen Milroe may think that he's the problem, and he's not the problem. Yeah, he didn't play great football, but he wasn't the problem in the game against Texas. The dude gave them the lead in the fourth quarter. Then he brought him back to make it a game in the fourth quarter. Jalen Milroe did that. You can tell me about he can't read, he don't understand. Bull crap. You still was in the game. You had the lead, then you came back again, and the defense weren't able to get in the ball back. So that's my problem. And I expect maybe some more movement, some more change, maybe. But, to me, it's too much. It's time just to pick a dude and say, Tommy Reese, this is what we got. You are offensive mind, sharpen your number 2 freaking pencil and design and draw some stuff that we can get these 5-star guys that we get out here the ball, and let's go play football. That's what they got to do. Period.
That's fair. I think they just look at it as which one outweighs the other. His dynamic playmaking ability, his athleticism, the deep ball, his ability to create stuff out of nothing. and improvise when he had to, right? Or do the turnovers, the blatant turnovers, do they outweigh those positives that he offers? And I think that's why they're trying to evaluate other guys. I think that's the most glaring thing. It's one thing, in my opinion, if he throws in the double coverage or he's making the right read, he's throwing it, comes up with a pick, right? I think the issue is when you look at that, though, those 2 turnovers, and it wasn't just one, it was twice. He just didn't see the guy. And not only that, if you even go to pre-snap on the second pick, where you see that they're bringing pressure. They already got 5-6 guys lined up, right? That strong safety starts coming down. There has to be a pre-snap adjustment. He's got to be able to see that. He ought to know, being a quarterback, that there's going to be a one-on-one on the backside, and this guy that I'm staring down is already getting double teamed, right?
Well,
so that
3 guys over there.
It ended up being 3 guys once the middle linebacker ended up dropping that way. So that's what I'm saying. Those turnovers were really bad turnovers. And again, I don't think they're looking at these quarterbacks, whether it's Buckner or even Simpson, if we see him significantly, which I do think we at least see him a decent amount. But I don't think it's so much them going into it saying, hey, he's going to start. Let's see what he can do stats-wise, right? I think that's more surface level. I think they just want to see how effective can this new guy in Buckner be at operating this offense. How can he be leading the offense? How efficient is he? Can he be that distributor of the football that Coach Saban likes to refer to? You know, that point guard on the football field. That's what I think they want, because you look back at it, they've been able to win football games with guys like that, guys that didn't have, the most talented arm, not nearly close to the talent of some of these recent quarterbacks that we've seen with Bryce Young, Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, and they still were able to win. We've won with game managers. I think the biggest thing is they need a distributor and somebody to protect the football. And maybe they're just saying it might not be a bad decision just to see how well we do with a guy who might not be as talented as Milroe in several areas, but if he can be efficient, he can operate the offense, get you in and out of plays, and not turn the ball over, maybe that might be our best bet. But again, I don't think this is the last we see of Milroe, whether it's they have packages designed for him, because you got to have him on the football field. He's way too explosive of an athlete to not play. Or if he earns the job back like Jake Coker did and runs away with it, because the other perspective is, he might feel disrespected from this decision, but it also could maybe light a fire underneath him and have him really just motivated more than ever to go out there and to play better than he's ever played and get those mistakes cleaned up. So we will see. Again, nobody has a crystal ball. We don't know how it's going to work out, right? I mean, it could go great. It could go terrible. No one knows. It's to be determined, but that's the thing about this, right? It's the thing about football. You just have to, like Coach Saban said, you got to try to just find the right group of guys. And I think that's exactly what they're doing right here. They just want to try to see, mix and match who might be the right group of guys that they need to put out there to play winning football and accomplish their goals. Because the standard is set so high here, we don't have time to risk and play around. They're looking for a guy to lead and to win football games right now. And so I think that's where this tough decision is coming from. I'd love to hear everybody else's thoughts on this too. So make sure you leave a comment down on what your thoughts are. Do you think this is the right decision, benching Milroe? Do you think Tyler Buchner is the answer? We'd love to have your feedback before we get out of here. And I know you're about to say something.
Jalen Milroe, career record, short playing time, 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Tyler Buchner, 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. So it is what it is. You can tell me about reading the defense. You can tell me this is not an upgrade unless he just gets great. Since he's been at Alabama, I hope that's true. I hope they're right and I'm wrong. But I'm looking at the facts right now as of today at 5:36 Eastern Time, 4:36 your time in Tuscaloosa and T-Town. Jalen Milroe again, 11 and 5. Touchdowns to interceptions. The guy that you're starting tomorrow, 6 and 8. So see all this stuff about turnovers, see all this other stuff that you want to say. I ain't buying it. So there it is.
We're going to see. And again, it's not like I'm really with it one way or another. I just think it makes a lot of sense to make this decision now versus later. That's all I'm saying. And so, again, we want to get everybody else's feedback. What are your thoughts? Do you think this is the right decision to bench Milroe right now and play Tyler Buchner as a starter versus USF heading into this first road game? Let us know down below. But remember, like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date with with all the latest that we've got going on. Remember, you can always catch us live Monday through Friday on Tide 100.9, 11 a.m. Central Time to 12. Again, this has been the Miller's Edge. Appreciate you guys checking in. We'll see you guys next time.